Hey friends, this is Ari Koinuma of Aristotle's Hope, and this is the third entry in my one-man prog rock band series. And today, as you saw, I'm working on the drums with this MIDI drum pad, just using the good old two-finger approach, going like that. And I'm just going through the song section by section and kind of coming up with the basic drum groove that goes with my guitar part. And that this is the probably the most laborious part of doing whole music by yourself. I mean, if you had like an amazing drummer and a studio with great finely tuned drum set in a great room with all the mics set up, that's one thing. But of course, that's not always available practical for some of us, so we end up compromising with programming drums on a computer. And something that is very apparent to me when I start working on this is how important drums are in rock music. It's just like, I don't know if people realize this, like drums make or break rock music. If you're looking at a rock band, if it sounds good, that's because the drummer's good. And if it sounds bad, it's because the drummer's bad, really. I mean, the singers, guitarists, bass players, I mean, none of them matter as much as the drums. And I don't know if it's just the way I write or the way I play my guitar, but a lot of times, just a regular rock beat, with hi-hat doing the eighth notes thing really just doesn't work with my songs. So I have to basically try out with my limited finger chops, playing a certain groove and record it and listen to it and see if that matches the guitar. And a lot of times, like playing the same kind of emphasis what the guitar is, if you match it a little too closely, that sounds corny. But if you ignore it, then it sounds really disjointed. It's just really an intricate dance between guitars and my rhythm guitar, my main writing instrument, and how the drum part goes. So it takes a good many hours to get the drum track or drum performance that really outlines the song, which is at like 8-9 minutes long right now. Just kind of doing it one note at a time, and you're listening and evaluating, and it takes time, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody else, but this is how I make it. And you can tell that when you listen to my songs, you bet that every single note I labored on and considered, and whether it was the right note at the right time or not, I've considered that. So in a way, this one-man prog rock band approach is kind of like movie making. Is that a lot of every detail is thought out, and then just that doesn't happen by accident. So usually when I start out, I just do the kick and snare combination that really forms the basics of drum track. But with this particular song, the Veil song that I have is fairly chordy in that the guitar's not playing a really distinct riff. The rhythm is distinct, but the notes are more just fairly sort of they're not playing chords, but they're just chords. And so if I do more sort of a regular snare and kick kind of drum groove, it just to me it sounds a little generic. So I'm doing a lot more toms here. And the other thing that's really on my mind is like when you're programming drums, and then if you do a lot of like rolls and stuff on the same instrument, if you play too many notes, then it can sound really unnatural really fast. So in a good way, it forces the drum part to have to be what drummers call it melodic, as in like different pitches being sprinkled in the pattern. So that that's where the drum programming can come across a little bit more convincingly than the others. So if I do something like 16th notes on the hi-hat, taka 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 taka, that's really hard to do. So I end up doing a lot of minimal notes. So the key is really to sort of figure out what is the essence of the groove and what would convey the momentum of the song with as few notes as possible. so that the song in this format has the best chance of coming across as realistically and as humanly as possible. And I do play a lot of the notes, although not all of them. Some of them I just write into the computer. But a lot of them I play, and then when I quantize it, quantizing is the process of sort of lining up the notes to a particular beat. I don't do it mechanically 100% to the strict beat. I just kind of, there's a setting in my software that kind of gets you sort of 80-90% of the way there. And I think that will give you just a very small amount of randomness, nothing that you will notice. But if instead of just doing everything on the beat, that approach seems to make the whole thing feel a little more human. I have a particular sense of groove, and I tend to play ahead of the beat sometimes, and retaining some of that will make the whole thing feel a little human as well. So that's just to say, a lot of thought going into and a lot of work going to drums, and I'm not a drummer. So this is a part where I really work hard, and I have to sort of get through this phase and get to more fun parts where I get to play with my guitars and basses and sing, and those are a little bit more come easy to me. And this is the part that's really sort of a challenging part of making music. But at the end, I do get a drum track that I think is in my mind fitting to the song, which is very particular and demanding my songs are. So this is the process I go through. So I'll be doing this for probably a few weeks still to come. So I may not be able to update do the next episode for some time, but hang in there, and I'll see you next time.